Hey guys, welcome back to another tutorial. This week we're going to take a look on how to make dusty materials with the new Fuzz material inside KeyShot. So if you don't already know, Espen and Magnus brought out a new course all about Fuzz and real cloth materials, and I've linked them below so you can check it out too. But we are going to take a look on how to kind of bend the Fuzz material a little bit and make dust inside of Fuzz. So this is what we are going to make. This is the keyboard model from Render Weekly. I've linked that down below as well. You can download it for free. And I have added this dust feature on top. So you can see those really tiny speckles. They really work well with the combination of a depth of field effect in the camera. So let's jump in and see how it's done. So I'm gonna start off without any dust settings here. And this is a anodized black material that I put on with the keyboard labels as a label here. We also have a fairly basic lighting setup here with a blue background and 2 pins. So this is our setup for today. So I'm gonna try to make this as simple as possible with the best result. So you can follow along quickly and change settings that you want to change, and also have the possibility to play around yourself. So we're gonna double click onto this material, and this is the same material. So all the keyboard buttons as well as the whole keyboard is one material, so it's a bit easier. And we're going to open the material graph here. So click on that icon over here, and this will open up the material graph. I'm going to resize this a little bit so we can see what we're doing. All right. So this is the basic setup. We have the keyboard label texture, which is connected to a plastic material. We also have this metal aluminum texture, the anodized aluminum. And now what we want to do is add a new geometry node. So right click, go to geometry and click on Fuzz. So this will create this new Fuzz node. So this we need to connect to the geometry input here of our material, and then go into this Fuzz node. We can go to execute geometry node. So this will preview our Fuzz material. Now we want to change a few settings. So of course this is a bit too big. So I'm going to change the length to, let's say, 1 millimeter for now. And also the radius, I'm going to pull down to, let's say, 0.2. Let's see what that gives us. And this is still a bit too much. Let's say to 0.1. So this looks already better. And what you can see is that all those strings, they're pointing away from the surfaces. And we need to change that since dust usually lies flat on top of the surface. So this is one of those things that makes it realistic. So in order to do this, we can go over here to our texture library, and under bump maps and normal maps, we can find some of those really strong texture normals. So I'm going to go for the gravel normal and just drag and drop this into our material graph here. And now we want to use this as our direction texture for the Fuzz. So connect this to the direction texture input and execute the geometry. So now what's gonna happen is you can see here, the strings are actually now pointing towards the normals. So they're pointing not straight up, but actually in an angle. And we can increase that angle by double clicking into this texture here, scrolling all the way down to the bump setting here, and increase the bump height. So I'm going to increase that to 10, execute the geometry again, and here you can see they're now basically lying flat. So as soon as we are going to change that to a higher number, they're going to lie even flatter, but more than 20 doesn't really make a big difference. So this is fine for now. And now we can go back to the Fuzz setting and change some of those settings over here. So first of all, we want to create a random variation. So the length, I'm going to set down to, let's say, 0.5. And the length variation, I'm going to set up to a fairly high number, maybe even more. Let's see what this gives us. So we can have those really, really small dots, but also we'll get those longer pieces. So you can imagine those longer pieces might be a little hair, and the small dots can be a standard dust particle. So now we also want a little randomness. So all those straight strings here, those straight dust particles need a little bit of a curvature to it. So I can increase the randomness here to, let's say, 1, and you can already see that they're going to curl up and create a more realistic feel. You can, of course, play with those settings to your liking, but this is what I'm going for now. So now I'm going to change the material. For that, we're going to click on cylinder for the shape. This will create an actual 3D geometry for the dust particles. And also under the appearance tag, I'm going to change the color here to white and leave the specular as is. You can change these settings as well. This is the basic setting, which will create a fairly realistic result. So the only thing is that I think the radius is still too big. So you can see those huge wiggly lines here, and we can turn the radius down a little bit and execute the geometry again. And now we can see those really subtle pieces. As soon as you zoom out, you can see those strings floating off of the surface. What we can also do is go into the settings and add a random density texture. So you can go right click, go to textures, and I like to use the granite texture for those kind of things because it gives a really nice random noise. So double click the granite texture, and up here we can go to the preview color setting again, and we will change the color to white. So this gives us a black and white noise texture. We can go down with the scale in order to create a random field. And this we can plug into the density texture here, execute the geometry node. This will increase the randomness even more. Now we can play around with the density of the dust. But yeah, that's fine for now. So the last thing to do is now add a camera with a depth of field added, where those dust particles in the back and the foreground are blurred out, and add to the realism. So yeah, that's how you create dust really, really fast with the new Fuzz feature in KeyShot. I hope you learned something. If you did, comment down below, like it, and subscribe for more videos every week. Thanks. Bye.